Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Saranangamana sampuna.
Amma Bhante.
Panatipata we Sikha padam samadhyami.
Panatipata viramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Nadana veramani sikhapadam samadhyami.
Adinadana viramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Ame sumichachara veramani sikhapadam samadhyami.
Kamesu michachara viramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikhapadam samadhyami.
Musavada viramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Sura Meraya
Surameraya Majapamadhatana Viramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Sira Dhamma Sadukam Surakitam Katva Apamadena Sampaveta Bam.
Amma Bhante.
Sirena Sukatiyanti Sirena Boga Sampara Sirena Utiyanti Silam Visudaye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. All right, today I'm going to talk about emptiness. I'm going to talk about emptiness. Have you heard about this topic, emptiness? No? In Buddhism? You've never heard somebody say it's emptiness of this, empty of this, empty of this? Empty cup? Interesting. It's a very confusing term. I think mostly rebirth also is very confusing to people. You tell people about rebirth, they get confused. Do you mean I'm going to be born again as a dog? No, Buddhism is not for me. Most people think like this. Another thing is emptiness. That's another very, very confusing word in Buddhism. Yeah. Who thinks is full? No, F not full. Now we're going to get a little bit. It's too bad today I don't have time, Today I've gone to the airport. Who thinks is empty? And you think is the opposite of empty is what? Full. Today the topic is emptiness. 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 We get you. Empty or full? Full.
Empty.
Both? Oh. Oh, we get another category.
The middle
Half
part.
empty. Half empty. These were people who are not optimistic. And not. Okay, so we have group B. Okay. He's sleeping. Or meditating. Meditating. Sorry, he's meditating. What do you think, my friend? Empty? Because we are talking Buddhist teaching on emptiness. We want to see people who understand the Buddhist teaching on emptiness. Where are you? Confused. Category. No. D category. Confused. Confused. So now this is both. This is neither. Neither. So that's really fills the four categories. So we have four categories. We have got also one here. This is good to take some statistics to find out who are the people who understand Buddha's teaching on emptiness. This is very, very important. What do you think? Where are you?
Know that Buddha's teaching is about emptiness, but myself, I'm not sure where I am also. Yeah.
You're not sure, so you belong here. Let me see here. Who's a very good person here to tell us? Andrew. Where is Marcus? Marcus will tell us also. Empty. We've got somebody who's empty. Now we need to go one round and say exactly. And then we stop because we don't have much time. I have to go to the airport. Sister Lee. You. The question is, according to teachings of emptiness, today is the topic. So what do you think? Are you empty according to this teaching? Are you full? Half empty, half full? Confused. You don't know where you belong. Because have you heard about the teaching on emptiness in Buddhism? Yes. So do you believe in that teaching that they're true? Oh, no, the Buddha talking about emptiness, you feel you're full. You're not empty, It's up to you. Oh, you can say confused to make the life even easier.
I know I'm here at the correct place.
Now, this is also here. The one who's right here, so it's neither full or empty. We need one more person. Oh, you chose hey. What do you think according to Buddhist teaching on emptiness? Where? Here? Where? Here? E. There's another E. Group E. 3/4. 3/4, eh? You said 3/4. We need and a quarter. Okay. One more person. We need one more person. I don't know. Hey, where is Brother Changui? Yes. Have you heard about Buddha's teaching on emptiness? Are you emptiness? Do you believe there's emptiness in you? Reducing. Now reducing, not full, not maybe half. Hey, Sister Irene, by the way. Tired, eh? Tired, very tired. We need one more person. We need one more person. One more person. There is one person here. Where is he? Where is? Brother Heng. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Where is Brother Heng? Oh, please, what do you think? Origin is emptiness. So you're empty. Okay, now we are going to read the sutta. We found out where I belong. Thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, now we read the sutta. Now, sutta number, who can read? Sutta. Sutta number, Sanyutta Nikaya, 22, 95. Yes, 95. So we are going to read, and then we see. Actually, this topic is so much related to the non-self thing. Last time I taught non-self. Yes, it's so related. That's why we are going to spend less time, because the topic is related. Who can read? Okay. Project. Okay, read it from the sutta itself. That one. Yes, who can read? Anybody? Okay. Who can read? Today we are going to find out whether we are empty, full. Okay? So now let us go to the Buddha's teaching, because
On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Ayodhya on the bank of the river Ganges. There, the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus. Bhikkhus, suppose that this river Ganges was carrying along a great lump of foam. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a lump of foam? So too, bhikkhus, whatever kind of form there is, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a bhikkhu inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in form? Suppose, bhikkhus, that in the autumn, when it is raining and the big raindrops are falling, a water bubble arises and bursts on the surface of the water. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a water bubble? So too, bhikkhus, whatever kind of feeling there is, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a bhikkhu inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in feeling?
Okay, stop there, please. Stop there. Feelings, perception. These are 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates. Then 4, mental formation. Mental formation. Mental formations. Okay. Then number 5 is consciousness. Okay. All these people are exempted. Now those who thought they're full, those who thought that half empty, whatever, they should continue reading. Okay? Say that they are full. Yes, please read. You're the one to read. That's your karma. No, we have finished physical form. Feeling is void.
Suppose bhikkhu.
This was compared to what? To bubbles. Bubbles. We did it for non-self also, because it's very important to understand the Buddha used the word emptiness interchangeably with non-self. And most people think these teachings are different. So this means form with O-A. Now we want people who say they are full, confused, what, to keep on reading until we finish the rest.
Oh no. Suppose bhikkhus that in the last month of the hot season at high noon, a simmering mirage appears. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be a mirage? So too, bhikkhus, whatever kind of perception there is, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a bhikkhu inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in perceptions? Suppose, bhikkhu, that a man needing hardwood, seeking hardwood, wandering in search of hardwood, would take a sharp axe and enter a forest. There he would see the trunk of large plantain tree, straight, fresh, without a fruit but core. He would cut it down at the root, cut off the crown, and unroll the coil. As he unrolled the coils, he would not find even softwood, let alone hardwood. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in the trunk of a plantain trees? So too, bhikkhu, whatever kind of volitional formations there are, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a bhikkhu inspects them, ponders them, and carefully investigates them. As he investigates them, they appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in volition formations?
Okay, thank you very much. We go to another person. Who says both? Empty. And there's somebody who say both. Who said both? Yes, read please. That's the karma. Instant karma. That covers the whole range of your experience, no? Yes. You tell us which experience was empty and which was full. You can tell us.
Suppose, bhikkhus, that a magician or a magician's apparentist would display a magical illusion at a crossroads. A man with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a magical illusions? So too, bhikkhus, whatever kind of consciousness there is, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, a bhikkhu inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to him to be void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in consciousness? Seeing thus, bhikkhus, the instructed noble disciple experiences revulsion towards form, revulsion towards feeling, revulsion towards perception, revulsion towards volitional formations, revulsion towards consciousness. Experiencing revulsion, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. What is liberated? There comes the knowledge. It's liberated. He understands. Destroy this birth. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more for this state of being. This is what the Blessed Ones said. Having said this, the fortunate one, the teacher, further said this. Form is like a lump of foam, feeling like a water bubble. Perception is like a mirage. Volition is a platen trunk, and consciousness like an illusion, so explain the kinsman of the sun. However one may ponder it and carefully investigate it, it appears but hollow and void. When one views it carefully, with reference to this body, the one of broad wisdom has taught that with the abandoning of three things, one sees this form discarded. When vitality, heat, and consciousness depart from this physical body, Then it lies there cast away, food for others without volition. Such is this continuum, this illusion, 𝐸𝑚𝑝𝑡𝑖𝑠 fools, it is taught to be a murderer. Here, no substance can be found. A bhikkhu with energy aroused should look upon the aggregate task, whether by day or by night, comprehended, ever mindful. He should discard all the fetters and make a refuge for himself. Let him fare as with head ablaze, yearning for the imperishable state.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So this discourse is yet another powerful discourse. Reminds us of understanding Buddha's teaching. And it can even lead to liberation. It can lead to liberation. So if somebody is confusing you about this teaching on emptiness, you have to give two references. One is about 5 aggregates. One is called about 5 aggregates. Aggregates of clinging, Another one, this one reference, you should tell them. Another one, you should give them a reference of what we call 6 senses, because the Buddha referred to them as the world, both in Samyutta Nikaya. This also in Samyutta Nikaya. The 6 senses. We are going to read that discourse. That one is a short one. 6 senses, and the Buddha is telling you about emptiness again. Let's go through that discourse. That one is on very short discourse. It's, let me see. It's not a short, but it's very powerful. Okay, go to page, Samyutta Nikaya 85. 35, 85, Samyutta Nikaya. So as you are looking for it, this teaching is such confusing teaching that most people, they take everything to be empty. Everything empty. Oh, yeah. You tell them about things, they say, oh, everything is empty, you know? You tell them, I feel pain here. No, contemplate on emptiness. Now that's become a problem. There is a nun, a Buddhist nun in Brazil, right? She went to Brazil to learn meditation with a Japanese teacher. So then, just like most people, the way they understand this teaching on emptiness, so it became almost a song, you know? Everything is empty, 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 empty. No, come and eat lunch. No, it's empty, you know? Yeah, emptiness, you know? Yeah, so now this Japanese teacher wanted to teach her. This is a real story. I saw her. She's a nun, Japanese nun, a Brazilian nun. She lives in Sao Paulo. Then the Japanese teacher knew that this person has not understood the teaching. So he got a small piece of stone and dropped on her foot. I don't know how big that stone is. But it didn't crush it, but it caused a dent and pain. And the Japanese teacher asked, is it empty? Then the nun said, no, it's very painful. So it's such people, this is instant transmission of the teaching. Because most people really have what we call spiritual bypass. Spiritual bypass, whereby you are not yet mature, and then you use Buddha's teaching to pass situations. Yeah. You see, especially people who have read Buddha's teaching, not so much practiced it, but read. They hear the teaching about emptiness, impermanence. And then a friend comes, the teacher, even they hear about the teaching on the First Noble Truth. Life is suffering, death, blah, blah, like this. Now, a friend say, I've lost my brother, what. He say, you know, this is the First Noble Truth. Everybody will die, you know. This is the problem. We have to be very careful the way we are using Buddha's teaching, you know. So let us read the sutta. Number 85. Who can read? Read.
Then the Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One and said to him, Venerable Sir, it is said, empty is the world, empty is the world. In what way, Venerable Sir, is it said, empty is the world? It is, Ananda, because it is empty of self and of what belongs to self that it is said, empty is the world. And what is empty of self and what belongs to self? The I, Ananda, is empty of self and of what belongs to self. Forms are empty of self and of what belongs to self. I consciousness is empty of self and of what belongs to self. I contact is empty of self and of what belongs to self. Whatever feeling arises with mind contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant, that too is empty of self and of what belongs to self. It is, Ananda, because it is empty of self and of what belongs to self that it is said, empty is the world.
That's, I think, a short discourse. You can continue on. Yeah, this is called dependent origination. So the Buddha actually wanted you to understand what is called dependent origination. So this is called six senses. Six senses, all right? So the I in itself is empty, nothing. Now, the problem that we are having now is, okay, the word sunya means hollow, okay? In English, it means hollow, it means zero, it means nothing, it means void, and then ta means ness. So this was hollowness, empty also means empty. Okay? So sunyata, that means it's emptiness, all right? The problem we have is that in English, we talk about empty places, don't we? Empty what? Places. What are empty places? Nothing is there. Not occupied. Not what? Not occupied. This is where the problem comes. We use these words in English, not occupied, occupied. Then we use it for receptacles. Containers. A container. Container, we say, is empty. That means there's no contents. Nothing is there. Nothing is there. Nothing is there. We use it to persons. Actually, there was usually empty persons is the one who was unmarried. According to that, this is absolute meaning. Right? It's already not in usage. Yeah. So leisure, somebody who's doing nothing, not occupied, not doing anything basically. But let us go. So now, when we come to the Buddha's teaching, we now smuggle these things to what the Buddha was trying to talk about, and then we get totally confused. Isn't it? Without knowing the context where the Buddha was using it. I give you an example. I'm going to okay. It has to be within the context. I have 30 minutes. Okay, you see? Okay, I have 1 minute. I have 1 minute to go over minute details of the minutes. You see? I'm still using the same word. but in different context. Isn't it? Are we together? I have only 1 minute to go over minutes of the meeting. The minutes of the meeting. Okay, to go over the minute details. Okay, to go over the minute details of the minutes of the meeting. So are these words meaning the same thing? Same spelling, isn't it? So now the problem when we look at these words, the way they mean, then we take them to mean the same thing as the 5 aggregates. Are we together? You grasp it very well. We think that strunyata, which means nothingness, he said nothing is there in these things. So now the problem, what the Buddha was trying to make, that was, if you say like this as nothing, that would be annihilation. It doesn't mean vacuum. It's just empty of the self. That's the message. It's empty of what? Self. As a permanent thing. In other words, is empty of something as permanent. Is empty of the cores. Is empty of this and all this kind of. Is empty of dependent existence. Independent existence. You remember how we started last time? Is that the Buddha was trying to navigate around things where no existence or existence. So this is what the Buddha was trying to tell. He didn't mean you don't have a body. Nothing, even if you put a drop of a stone. This is the problem we have, and I think we should grasp it properly. Different usages we found. Are we clear on this? I'm going to wrap this. Different schools have different meanings. Different schools have different meanings. We have Tibetan. We start with Tibetan. Tibetan believes that we have all beings have the Buddha nature. Have you heard about Buddha nature? Buddha nature. And according to them, there is emptiness of all defilements. Intrinsically, they are empty of defilements. Intrinsic nature of they think that in all sentient beings we have what? Buddha nature. And then we are empty of all defilements. So that's one usage. Of course, in a Theravada usage, we talk about empty of self. Empty of self. And also, I think also, it makes sense also to meet about independent existence. Independent. We have not gained independence. Independent what? Existence. Existence. So in other words, if there's nothing that can exist by itself without conditions, in other words. There's always conditions. So in other words, if on one side of the coin is what we call emptiness, so this is also emptiness of independent what? It's empty of what? Independent existence. It's empty of independent existence. Right? If anything is independent of existence, definitely on the other side of the coin it should be empty. Emptiness. So now also there are schools. One of the school believes about, again, this emptiness of what we call object-subject. Object-subject. It's empty of object-subject. In other words, non-duality consciousness. And this one also is called Yogavachara. Let me check. Yogavachara also has Yogavachara. Let me see what Yogavachara think about. Yeah. Yes. Then there's Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna talks about that kind of things. The empty of their intrinsic existence. That's a school that popularized this one. And then this is Yogavachara. That school is called Yogavachara. I don't know if you have heard about that school. Vachara. Yogavachara. And now the Tibetan I've already shared with you. This one, which is similar for the Theravada thing is that all things are empty of their inherent intrinsic existence. Inherent, empty of what? Empty of intrinsic existence. They're empty of existence, like this. So now these schools like this, they are not Theravada, but this one is similar in Theravada in a way. Yeah, so in Theravada position, always you try to bring in the two examples. One is for 5 aggregates, another one is 6 senses. That's what I wanted to say today. Thank you very much for listening. So that you make a distinction between emptiness and other schools, and also you have a reference at least. So all those people who, Buddha was trying again to teach the emptiness based on the what? The 2 views. You remember the 2 views we started? And those 2 views were coming with a what? A self. That's why he was saying that is empty of what? That's done. Thank you. You have questions?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We have time for questions. So any questions from the floor?
Yes.
Thank you, Bhante. Good morning. Thanks for the sharing. But this topic is very difficult. So can I check? Like just now when you're showing the different schools of that they talk about emptiness, right? So do you mean actually they are quite different? Because I guess for me, right, in the past when I was reading, I read from all different genres of Buddhism. So that's why when we read, then might get a bit confused when you read the Tibetan tradition explanation of emptiness and Mahayana ones and Theravada ones, and that's why we get some misunderstanding on what the emptiness is. Are you able to spend a bit of time to kind of like simply explain the contrasting difference or something?
Okay, the contrasting difference, actually all of them look like there's some kind of similarities. They're trying to explain the different things but on different views. We start with the easiest one, I think, is to understand. Since you have already attended my talk on non-self, you have already talked about, I drew exactly where it started, from the view of self-identity. We talked about 20 views. You remember? Whether the self is within the body, material, or the body is within, I've already discussed this one already. So there are 20 views. So 4 times 5, you get 20. That's where all the problem came. So all the time the Buddha was teaching is to sidestep that. That's why he taught emptiness. Because there were 2 views. One is existence, one is non-existence. This is called absolute. The Buddha, during the time of the Buddha, everything people were thinking in terms of absolute. Absolute existence, absolute non-existence. Absolute self, absolute no self. Absolute this, absolute that. So now the teaching of emptiness really actually undermined that, because we say it's empty of a self. Because those who believe in the self, they are eternalist views, and those who believe in no self, so what he brought is to show you, okay, now let us look at 5 aggregates and find them and compare them to 5 similes. One is bubbles and magician, and then they say, no, it's void. There is no substance. It doesn't mean that there's no perception. It doesn't mean there's no body. It doesn't mean there is a psychophysical phenomena, but it's depending on condition. That's it. There is a psychophysical phenomena. And that's what I told you, the usage of the word self. Buddha, during the time of the Buddha, they used it as a reflexive sense, train yourself, and all. That's a reflexive usage. Reflexive sense use it. And also used it as a shorthand device to represent psychophysical phenomena. And that's what is confusing for people, because even I've been on meetings on intellectual people, doctors from around the world. The Dalai Lama was there in Washington, D.C. People say, if there is no self, then who is on this conference? If somebody starts asking this question, you know that somebody has not understood the two views and what Buddha was trying to say. Buddha was trying to teach non-self, not no-self. Otherwise, it's going to be in the same category, annihilation, you know. Yeah, but even start quoting that if there is no self, they're not talking about the Buddha's teaching. So they misquote the Buddha. You see? Are we together? So now, that's very clear at least. That's very clear. Now, the second one, all things are empty of their own inherent intrinsic existence because they are relative, they are what called due to causes and conditions. Thus also we harbor it. The Theravada tradition, we have that one also. Because I told you, it's not about existence or non-existence. So also that's similar, but for them, they teach it more. They teach more than about self. They teach more about how things are intrinsically. That's called Nagarjuna school. They teach more. It doesn't mean that we don't know. We know it's true, actually. It's true that intrinsic, but for them, they take it far. It's like different schools. Emphasize different Four Noble Truths. You know? Others, they emphasize suffering. Others, they emphasize the cause of suffering. Others, they emphasize the liberation. There's a school that actually emphasizes on liberation that they don't want to read the scriptures. They say, let's meditate and sort it out. In fact, as soon as you go through the suttas, I said, no way. For us, we meditate and square it out right there. So different schools emphasize on different Four Noble Truths. The same when it comes to this teaching, some schools emphasize more of the other. Others talk more about self, others talk more about intrinsic existence, empty of intrinsic existence. Then there's the other school we call Yoga-Vachara view. It talks about the flow of non-dual consciousness is empty of hypotheticity, subject-object, duality. In other words, that this is a subject, this is a doer, which is absolute, and the subject, which is absolute. That's also is okay. It's not against the Buddha's teaching, but it's more of their emphasis to focus on the duality of subject and object, right? So everything is dependent on what? Dependent arising. You cannot say that this is absolute subject and this is absolute object. So this is more of their emphasis. It's the same thing in life. There's certain thing you emphasize on. Sometimes people like swimming. It's all exercise. Other people want to go walking. Other people, it's all exercise, but people emphasize on these things, you know. It's all about emptiness. But what is more confusing is number 4, about the Tibetan. It talks about the Buddha nature, which is within all sentient beings, is intrinsic and medually empty of all defilements. Is this a notion that is debated highly in Tibetan Buddhism? And many people ask questions. What about murderers? Murderers, because if also they have Buddha nature, then why do they murder people? Are we together? If you have a Buddha nature, you have Buddha nature, a tree has Buddha nature, then we have people who are saintly, who practice meditation and they keep precept, they are not murdering other people. But also we have people who are serial murderers. Do they have Buddha nature or not? Because if you say that inherently, intrinsically, empty of all defilements, so that notion is a little bit... By the way, do you believe in Buddha nature? Buddha nature. Everybody has Buddha nature. Okay, if everybody has Buddha nature, Buddhists have Buddha nature. What about lions? The lions also have Buddha nature. Isn't it? Yeah. So this is a highly debatable thing, but that's what they are focused. That if you look at their focus, we hardly talk about Buddha nature in Theravada Buddhism. It's called Tathagata Gandhabba or something like that. These are modern teachings actually that came later on. That Tathagata, I think it's called Tathagata Gandhabba, something like that. So these are things that came as Buddhism developed, because Tibetan Buddhism developed later on, like about 700 AD. But this teaching has been there. Then Mahayana developed around 200, that's mean 200 BC and 100 AD. So then Theravada is very old, the oldest school. So when we got the oldest school, it's very clear. It's very clear, the oldest school. It's clear. There's no confusion. But where it becomes confusion is the Buddha nature thing. People ask questions, and nobody has ever resolved why murderers, if they all have Buddha nature, why they are serial murderers, if they are intrinsically have all defilement. But of course, I understand it also. You can argue it that, it's because they have not practiced meditation, and also if they do meditation, like even like, for instance, what we call Angulimala. Angulimala killed 909, 999, he killed. And it was a serial murder. So now, if that one, Angulimala became an arahant, that means intrinsically, we are empty of defilement, but we don't practice. And if we practice, actually, we can change our lives. So you can also argue that one, there's some sense into it, but it's a very highly debatable topic about why people have Buddha nature and they still kill other people. Yeah, so it doesn't mean it's wrong, totally wrong. There's no absolute. In Buddhism, we don't have absolute. Theravada Buddhism, we don't have absolute this. This cannot be absolute wrong, and it can be absolutely right. Yeah, it is in its own way, it's explained some phenomena. I can tell you the first time I saw there is no absolute in life is I went to Japan. I saw a clock which stopped working in 1945. And guess what? It was right. It was it was showing correct time at that time when I was there. At that time when the clock stopped working, it shows the correct time. And another time, so in 24 hours, even the clock which has stopped working in 1945, it shows the correct time 2 times. So that means you can't say there's something absolutely wrong or absolute right. So it's all relative. That's the message here. It doesn't mean that they are harboring wrong views altogether, completely, absolutely. But because we can see Angulimala has the defilement and became an arahant later on. But sometimes if you extend Buddha nature to the pieces of wood, that's where the problem comes. Because the sentient beings, sentient beings, trees and all these things, it's been blade of grass, and then you say, okay, this and that. So anyway, thank you very much. I think I've taken only one question. Oh, sorry. Did you have any question?
Now we're talking about life. Bhante, sorry. We're talking about emptiness when we are alive. Then how about death? We will take consciousness immediately, whereas the Mahayana is talking about we will be in an in-between kind of thing, waiting to be taking life again. Yeah.
Transit, yeah?
Yeah,
transit.
The transit, yes, right.
Yeah. Well, these different schools live differently, and unfortunately or fortunately, the Mahayana thing has been confounded by science itself. People who are studying about science, who have done rebirth scientifically, they have found out actually that gap. Yes, from a Theravada point of view, is instant. But in other schools, I don't know how they got the days, but even those 49 days in Ibarado, I met in Australia, I used to meet a scientist, and even things are written that actually people even spend a long time, more than that. Yeah, so the thing in Buddhism is whether that really spends 49 days, 2 minutes is another rebirth. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we should work on our way that we upgrade our existence so that we don't go lower. For me, that's more important other than how many days you stay in transit, whatever. Sometimes I go into Dubai and spend 9 hours. Sometimes I stay 45 minutes. Whether it's 45 minutes or whatever is in a transit. It's about transit. Are you together? Whether you stand in a lounge, it's still transit, and it's associated with some kind of penning rebirth in samsara, and then more diapers, more going to school, more dukkha. Yeah, so I think the Buddha was not so interested in how many days we stay in transit, but they think that we are in transit is not a good idea to be in trance when we are heading to hopeful states of mind. I think we should be in transit when we're upgrading existence, going to heaven in the world, and then you do things so that you keep on transiting better way. At least when you have a transit going to a good country where there is safety and all these things, you feel more reassured. But when you're transit and you're getting a war-torn area, that's not a good idea. I remember I was going to India, and then people told me when I got a scholarship to go to India to study, people told me, don't go to India. There's people fighting. You're going to the university, Punjab University, the Kashmir problem. I said, no la. The government has given me scholarship. I didn't know English at that time, I'm just saying. So then I went and I reached Bombay. The flight was cancelled because of mechanical problem. And I was sitting there 1 day, 2 days, the flight is not working. And then I saw in the news, wow, 20 people have died in Kashmir. That's where I'm going. I said, wow, I didn't pay heed to these people. They're right. So I went nervous. I was very, very nervous. Really, when I arrived in India, I was so nervous because my university is that state. So that's why I say, when you really done good things in your life, you can stay assured that I'm in transit, but I can count on my good karmas, the good thing I've done. But the problem is when you have lived your life in a very crooked way, then the transit become horrible. So whether 49, whatever, it doesn't matter. I can tell you for sure, I can reassure you that science has proved that for the other side. Even more days than that. Years, you better talk to them. I've talked to scientists who know, who can hypnosis, yeah, and they can go back and regressive, and even scientists who does the rebirth thing, they have found more time. Thank you very much. I have to.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante, for your compassion in administering the 3 refuges, 5 precepts, and sharing this very, although it's very short, but very effective teaching with us, so that we can continue our path to Nibbana and not bananas, like you said yesterday. So, with that, I would like to request that Bhante, can you lead us in sharing of merits and also a blessing before we finally let you go for your lunch.
Okay. Akasata Javamata Devana Gama Hidika Punyatam Anumoditwa Chiram Rokasasana Chiram Rakantu Desana Chiram Rakantu Bamparanti Etawata Chakamehi Sampadam Punya Sampana Sabbe Deva Anumodantu, Sabbe Bhutta Anumodantu, Sabbe Satta Anumodantu, Sabba Sampati Siddhya. Can you repeat all of us together? Idame Nyatina Hotu, Sukita Hotu Nyatayo. Idame Nyatina Hotu, Sukita Hotu Nyatayo. Idame Nyatina Hotu, Sukita Hotu Nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante. Let's pay 3 respects to Bhante.
Yes.
And then let's remain in Anjali, and then we'll invite Bhante Buddharakkhita to have his lunch.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, did I tell you how I summarized the sharing of merit? Yeah?
Yeah.
Did I tell you?
No.
I tell you. I say, Akasata Chavamata Deva Nagama Hirika Punyatam Anumodito Chiram Rakantu Lokasasana Chiram Rakantu Mampara. Which means Etawata Chakame, then Bhutta, then Deva, Bhutta, and Satta together in one. That's how Buddhists are very efficient. That's why I take my meals. Now I'm taking dinner, My last supper today. I like the Buddha actually.
We like you too, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante. Let's pay through respects to the Buddha as well.